I hope that everybody's having a good start to the week. Some good news came out, dare I say, great news came on Monday, and that's the extension of the National Flood Insurance Program, and it's helped prevent the government shutdown. Okay, maybe the other way around. But of course, realtors had a huge part to play in working towards keeping the government open. And part of that rationale was to make sure that the National Flood Insurance Program stayed in place. It's a big deal because when we look at flood insurance, what we know is that it's a federal program and you only can get flood insurance from the federal government from the National Flood Insurance Program. So when the government shuts down, which happens, it seems, more often than we'd like to think, that actually stops that program. In fact, last time it shut down, there were like 5 years ago, there were over 20,000 transactions, real estate transactions, that were held up because potential buyers couldn't close on the new loan because they weren't able to get flood insurance because the government was shut down. So this agreement is a bipartisan agreement that funds the government at 2023 levels through November 17th, and this ensures that it pays for federal workers, military, as well as extensions for other programs as well. And you may know that I serve as president of the board of directors for the Equal Housing Opportunity Council, Metropolitan St. Louis, and this was something that we were desperately concerned about because we get a lot of HUD contracts there, and should the government have shut down, that meant that we would have been at risk of not being able to pay our employees. So that would have been tough. That's 15 to 20 people that may not have been able to take home paychecks similar to other government employees. In fact, I just flew back from Atlanta on Saturday where I was attending the CCIM Certified Commercial Investment Member and C5 Summit. I was there observing, primarily my focus is on residential real estate, but there's always great things to be gleaned at these conferences. So I was there. Anyhow, what I learned about the potential shutdown would have been that although TSA workers would not be getting paid, they would still be required to work. Isn't that something? So I don't know that I want to be flying under those circumstances where somebody's forced to work and they're not even getting paid to do so. That seems like that could be the makings for disaster. But fortunately, we've averted all that and we get to move forward. And guess what? We get to deal with this now as we head up to Thanksgiving. How about that? So anyhow, back to the NFIP. In the messaging that the National Association of Realtors put out, a lapse of NFIP funding would disrupt the purchase of flood insurance in more than 20,000 communities nationwide. And this is an alarming issue, especially when we consider the recent flooding that we've seen in New York. And here, I'm in St. Louis. There are floodplains in St. Louis. I actually try to talk with my clients and say that let's not buy a home in the floodplain if we can help it, for the very reason that this flood insurance program is so volatile. But in fact, 1 inch of flooding can cause $25,000 in structural damage, and without access to this flood insurance, families would have to rely on severely limited federal disaster aid. So by Saturday morning, tens of thousands of realtors nationwide had already picked up the phone and gotten in touch with their representatives. And on Monday, it was announced that there is an extension to November 17th. Of course, advocacy groups within NAR are continuing to work towards a resolution that avoids the government shutdown. And as I am ramping up to serve as Vice President of Advocacy for the National Association of Realtors next year, this is definitely something that we're working hard on ensuring because we need an extension of the flood insurance program. And I would like to see more than the 5-year extensions that we typically get because then we don't have to deal with this all the time. Let's figure out a way maybe to open the market up so where we can help private insurance companies play a part in this role. But that's my good news for the day, that it's extended and that the flood insurance is extended, that the government's not shutting down anytime soon. And I hope that you continue to have a good week. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to talking with you soon.